Now that Donald Trump is returning to the presidency, is your immigration status safe? The last time that Trump was in office, he significantly reduced immigration into the United States. And contrary to what many of you may think, he does plan on going further this time. So today, we're going to take a look at what he has planned for each of the immigration programs and find out whether or not your status is in danger. And as a bonus, I will explain at the end of this video how you can protect yourself and all that you have worked hard for in this country. So stay tuned. Let's start with the changes that Trump is likely to make shortly after he enters office in January. Before we dive in, I do want to spread a word of caution that we don't actually know exactly what will happen, and we won't know anything until the administration starts taking actual action. So anything that we talk about today and anything that you have heard so far is merely rumor and is not set in stone. But that said, he has already publicly announced plans that he plans on declaring a state of emergency when he takes office and that he plans on using the military for mass deportations. So I wouldn't past him trying to do any of these things that he's saying. Okay, so one of the first targets of the Trump administration is going to be asylum, which he tried to effectively ban during his first term. There's a good chance that Trump may use an executive order to prevent asylum offices from granting asylum applications as soon as he enters office, along with some other programs that we will discuss in just a moment. He is also expected to drop the annual cap of refugees from 100,000 refugees per year back down to 15,000 per year like he did during his first term, or even suspend them altogether. In addition, Trump has promised to take away the ability for asylum seekers to be able to obtain work authorization and to start requiring an application fee that will prevent many people from even applying. A lot of news outlets are also reporting that the administration plans on scrapping the CBP One app that migrants use to set up asylum appointments, reinstate the Remain in Mexico policy, and completely shut down the border to asylum seekers. So once he takes office, there's a very strong possibility that asylum will no longer be on the table and will no longer be a reliable pathway to getting status in the United States. I'll include a link for what asylum seekers can do to protect themselves at the end of this video. Another immigration program that Trump is likely to shut down is the TPS program. He tried to do this during his first term, but he was shut down because he did not follow the correct legal procedures in doing so. But he will try again this time, and if he runs into legal obstacles, he can still effectively shut down the program by refusing to issue new TPS designations for the 850,000 people who need them. TPS designations from those from El Salvador end in March, and those for Sudan, Ukraine, and Venezuela end in April. These people could become undocumented overnight and be at particularly high risk of deportation because the government already has their physical address on file. Another program that Trump is likely to shut down immediately is DACA. Again, this is something that he already tried to do during his first term and which he failed in. However, he now has a second shot at doing it during this term. The fate of DACA is currently being held up by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. So when Trump takes office, he can very likely order the Department of Justice to dismiss the appeal and effectively bring DACA to an end. The Trump administration can also create lawsuits challenging the program, then ask the Supreme Court to make the final decision on it. And since now the Supreme Court has a partisan conservative majority, it would likely side with Trump. For those who are waiting on immigrant and non-immigrant visas, there is a strong possibility that Trump will issue a travel ban once he gets in office, completely shutting down immigration from specific countries. These will not only include just the countries from the original Muslim travel ban, but also would include any countries that he considers to be a threat, even if they're not Muslim. For those that are not from a country with an outright ban, the ability to get a visa and come to the United States could even be further hindered by travel bans and shutdowns of embassies. Trump's administration is also likely to reinstate the public charge rule, preventing lower-income individuals from being able to obtain residency and immigrate to the country. They have also made it very clear that they want to switch to a merit-based system for immigration and end chain migration, meaning that they want fewer families coming into the United States and only want to accept the most qualified workers. Over time, it's even possible that Trump may want to eliminate immigration in the categories for families, including siblings, parents, and adult children. Making this change would certainly require changes to be passed through Congress, but it could be possible since now the Republicans control both the House and the Senate. Marriage green cards are the one area that that Trump does not seem to have an evil plan for, but approvals are still expected to become more difficult in the future. We will likely see an increase in the number of RFEs issued, an increase in fees, and the disappearance of interview waivers. USCIS officers will also be instructed to place more of an emphasis on fraud and less on speed, which means that the processing times for all cases, especially marriage green card cases, will skyrocket due to the increased inspections. Next is the diversity visa program, which Trump tried to limit during his first term in office. At the time, he was stopped by Democrats in Congress, but now that there is a Republican majority in both houses, he may be able to push it through. Two more humanitarian programs that Trump may try to impose restrictions upon are the T visa and the U visa programs. During his first term, he created something called a no blank policy, which instructed USCIS to deny visa applications that had any blanks in them. As a result, more than 12,000 U visa applications were denied that year. The T visa and the U visa are also specifically mentioned in Project 2025, which is essentially Trump's playbook for his first year in office. It has suggested changing the requirements so that a criminal prosecution would have to take place both when you apply and when your case is approved, which can be as long as 1 to 2 years for a T visa and a decade for the U visa. The chances of being involved in an active 10-year criminal prosecution is very unlikely, and it's virtually zero, so that could make it very difficult to get T visas approved. For VAWA, there is the possibility that Trump may try to get Congress to narrow the eligibility requirements in order to apply. During his first term, he did change the definition of domestic violence to only include physical acts that constitute a felony or a misdemeanor. Although this did not apply to the Violence Against Women's Act, he may likely try to get the same definition. If Congress were to agree and actually change the laws of VAWA in order to agree with Trump, then it would make it significantly more difficult for people to fit the definition of being a domestic violence victim. So now that you know how bad it might get underneath the Trump administration, what can you do about it? Well, for one thing, please keep your hope alive because of the fact that the majority of changes mentioned do require changes to be run through Congress and approved by Congress and made into law. I still firmly believe that many of these changes will not go through because of the fact that humanitarian programs are still widely approved of by the public and by Congress. Otherwise, we would not have such laws in the first place. To completely eliminate the definition of domestic violence or to make it virtually impossible for trafficking victims and victims of violence to be able to obtain relief is not something that most people, not even Republican senators, want to be party to. But I'm not too sure if I feel the same way about asylum because for that, I do believe that there is a widespread negative connotation towards asylum seekers. And any attacks upon the asylum program may in fact go through. And if you are in a particularly vulnerable position, such as being a TPS or DACA holder, here are some things that you should consider. 1, please start looking for other forms of relief that you may be eligible for, such as the ones that I have already mentioned on my channel multiple times, such as the T visa, the U visa, and especially VAWA if you do not have a legal entry, but you are married to a US citizen. If TPS and DACA are terminated, then you will become undocumented. And the government will also have your location on file, so should they decide to enforce removal activities against you, this will be easier for them. If you are an asylum seeker, make sure you renew your work permit or apply for your first work permit if you are eligible. And do this before Trump takes office in case any applications that are submitted after Inauguration Day are no longer accepted. You'll also want to get any applications that you have filed before the law changes. If you are in a humanitarian program such as VAWA, T visa, or U visa, please rest assured that the president does not have the power to shut these down. These are based on statutes and law, which means that Congress has to be the one to make changes. And before they make any changes, both houses must agree to the changes. Only Congress has the ability to make the changes found in Project 2025. And no matter what immigration program you're in, it is always a good time to talk to an immigration attorney that you trust to find out how to protect yourself and what options you may have if you do not have any legal status right now. Like I said, the Trump administration is going to try to slow down immigration and even eliminate or prevent immigration into the United States and try to narrow protections for those already inside. Even if they do not succeed, they they will make things a little more difficult for a period of time. So it's the right time to get the help of a good lawyer so that you are not blindsided by anything that happens. My name is Moumita Rahman, and I have been practicing immigration law for the past 14 years. My team and I were here during the first Trump administration, and we did not let that stop us from fighting for our clients. If you would like my help on your case, please call to schedule a case evaluation at 212-248-7907. We are based in New York, but we serve clients all over the US. Your journey is our fight, and we are with you every step of the way. And in case you haven't heard, Trump has announced plans to turbocharge the denaturalization program. That means that they have plans to try to take away citizenship from a record number of naturalized citizens. To find out whether your citizenship status is in danger, be sure to watch my video to see exactly what they have in store and whether or not you should be concerned. I'll include a link to that video here, so click now and I'll see you there.